Suddenly, the ground beneath them shattered, revealing a secret world hidden deep within the Earth's core. It was a place overflowing with diamonds and rubies, but it was also a place where death lurked in every shadow. Today, we're journeying into the heart of that terrifying, beautiful, and unknown world. Everything started with Trevor Anderson, a geology professor and researcher who spent his days lecturing students on the volatile nature of volcanoes. Beyond the classroom, he was trying to keep his brother Max's laboratory alive. A man who had vanished 10 years ago while hunting for a legendary world hidden at the very center of the Earth. Trevor was obsessed with picking up where his brother left off, but when he arrived at the lab today, he received a gut punch. The investors had pulled their funding. The lab was being shuttered for good, and the news left Trevor shattered. Back home, things didn't get any easier. He received an urgent call from his sister-in-law, Elizabeth, informing him that she was dropping off his nephew, Sean. Trevor scrambled to clear his chaotic apartment, knowing he was now responsible for the kid for the next 10 days while Elizabeth prepared to move to Canada. Sean was less than thrilled to be stuck with his uncle, desperate to get back to his video games rather than endure an awkward stay. Before leaving, Elizabeth handed Trevor a box, Max's old belongings. Seeing those items brought a flicker of light back into Trevor's eyes. Inside were fragments of his brother's life, a baseball glove, a yo-yo, and finally Max's favorite book, Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth. As Trevor pored over the pages, his heart skipped a beat. The margins were filled with his brother's handwritten notes, specifically calculating magma temperatures at the exact volcanic sites where Trevor and Max had once conducted their own research. A realization dawned on him. He rushed Sean to the lab, pulling up satellite data until they spotted a volcano in Iceland that matched the coordinates hidden in Max's book. It was clear now, Max hadn't just been wandering. He had been hunting for the thermal pathways leading to the core of the planet, and Trevor was determined to follow his tracks no matter what it cost them. Minus 2,000 milliseconds, back home, Trevor made the call. They were going to Iceland. Sean, refusing to be left behind, insisted on joining the mission, and after some pushback, Trevor finally caved. As they navigated the journey, Trevor obsessively tried to decode a cryptic note in Max's book, until Sean realized it wasn't just a code, it was a name. A quick search led them straight to the director of the Institute of Progressive Volcanology. They touched down and drove for hours through desolate terrain, only to be met with a shock. The institute was nothing more than a shack. A woman named Hannah opened the door. She was the daughter of the now-deceased director. She revealed that her father and Max shared the same fringe theories about Jules Verne's world, and that Max had indeed visited them before venturing toward a specific volcanic peak. Trevor was undeterred, but Hannah tried to shut them down, warning them of the lethal terrain. When they refused to listen, she realized she had no choice but to guide them herself. She was an expert mountaineer, and they wouldn't survive the climb without her. As they ascended the treacherous mountain, Hannah warned them that this path was deadly, yet the clues in the book kept pointing them deeper into the ascent. Finally reaching the summit, Trevor's persistence paid off. He spotted a seismic sensor left behind by Max, proving his brother had been exactly where they were standing. But their discovery was cut short by a violent, freak thunderstorm. Sean and Hannah scrambled into a nearby cave for cover, but Trevor stayed behind, desperate to retrieve the device. The sensor's antenna acted like a lightning rod, drawing down strikes from the heavens. With the ground electrified around him, he finally pried the equipment loose, sprinting for the cave mouth as the sky turned lethal. He hurled the sensor away just as a bolt of lightning vaporized it in midair. Trevor dove into the cave, but the vibration of the strike brought the mountain down, sealing the entrance behind them with a wall of stone. Trapped, their only hope was to press deeper. Hannah recalled that the tunnel used to be an old mine, and logic dictated there had to be another exit on the other side. They ventured into the darkness, but the path was unforgiving. Trevor nearly plummeted into a bottomless crevice, saved only by Hannah's lightning-fast reflexes. They had unknowingly stumbled onto a sector marked with warning signs, but there was no turning back now. Trevor struck a flare to illuminate the abyss, but the cave walls were laced with highly volatile magnesium. The reaction was instantaneous, a massive, concussive blast that nearly cost them their lives. Thinking fast, Hannah pulled out a fireproof flare, dropping it into the darkness. They watched it descend for seconds that felt like hours, confirming the drop was at least 60 meters deep. With no other option, they committed to a rappel. Sean was clearly rattled, but Trevor took the lead, disappearing into the black void, with Hannah following close behind to guide Sean down. Mid-descent, Trevor caught sight of an extraordinary geological formation. Mesmerized, he lost his grip and found himself dangling by a single safety line. Seeing the situation spiraling, Hannah expertly tensioned the cable, lowering him the rest of the way to the cavern floor. They stepped into a graveyard of industry, an ancient, abandoned mine where silence weighed heavy and the history of those lost within it felt suffocating. They pushed deeper, navigating the wreckage until they stumbled upon an old generator. When Hannah flicked the switch, the darkness shattered under the hum of flickering light. Seeing a string of rusted mining carts, they didn't hesitate. They scrambled in, hoping these rails would be their ticket out. But as they crested the incline, gravity took hold. The carts accelerated, shrieking along the decaying tracks. Up ahead, a section of the rails had completely rotted away, a plummet that meant certain death. With no way to brake, they hit the gap at breakneck speed, defying physics to land safely on the other side. The impact was brutal. The collision severed the connection between their carts, sending them hurtling down diverging paths. Hannah's track was a dead end, forcing her to leap from her runaway cart onto Trevor's just before hers derailed. But the reprieve was short-lived. Trevor's path was blocked by a wall of solid rock. In a flash of genius, Hannah tethered them to the cart and hooked the line onto the rails, creating a makeshift brake that saved them from a terminal impact. The cart slammed into the rock wall and disintegrated, leaving them battered but alive. Sean, meanwhile, navigated his own track in tense silence, miraculously encountering no obstacles. Reunited, they wandered into a chamber that defied logic, a vault shimmering with raw, massive rubies and diamonds. These were the birthstones of the earth, forged in the very volcanic tubes that connected the surface to the deep. Sean couldn't resist. He began frantically stuffing his pack with the glittering fortune. But the moment his bag grew heavy, the air shifted. He realized with a jolt of terror that the floor beneath them wasn't solid rock. It was a fragile, crystalline shell that could shatter under the slightest weight. They crept toward the exit with agonizing caution, but the silence was shattered by the sound of a single diamond slipping from Sean's bag. It struck the ground, punching a small hole through the crystalline floor. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then the world fractured. The ground vanished, and they plummeted into a bottomless chasm, falling for what felt like an eternity. But as the wind roared in their ears, Trevor screamed over the sound, recalling one of Vern's wildest theories. The volcanic shafts were lined with vents that cushioned falling objects. He predicted a massive, slide-like waterfall below, and he was right. They hit the water, swept along a natural flume that deposited them into a cavern that defied everything they knew about reality. As they climbed out of the water to catch their breath, the ceiling above began to glow. It wasn't stone, but thousands of bioluminescent creatures, birds long extinct for 300 million years. One swooped down, hovering near Sean, before beckoning them deeper. They followed, emerging into a breathtaking, lush world of massive lakes and towering peaks. Max's obsession hadn't been a delusion. It was the truth. Trevor was overwhelmed, his joy absolute as he scanned a horizon lit by a strange, fiery sun suspended in the center of the core. He clung to Vern's book, matching every landmark to the pages, and everything aligned perfectly. Their trek led them to a treehouse, a relic of a life lived in isolation. Trevor climbed inside, while Hannah remained below. Inside, time stood still. Everything was exactly as it had been a decade ago. Outside, Hannah discovered rusted exploration gear and a canteen engraved with the name of a long-lost explorer, along with a lantern left near a jagged cliff. In the treehouse, Trevor and Sean uncovered Max's private journals, revealing that he had not only survived here, but had mapped an underground ocean nearby. The weight of their discovery turned somber as Hannah led them to a final resting place. There, they found Max's remains. Together, in the quiet of this hidden world, they held a makeshift funeral. As they stood over him, they read a final, soul-crushing message Max had written in his notebook for his son. But there was no time for grief. Max's notes carried a dire warning. This world was encased in magma, and as seismic activity spiked, the core was transforming into a furnace. The temperature was rising rapidly, already climbing toward a lethal 194 degrees. They were standing in a pressure cooker that was about to blow. With human survival capped at a grueling 134 degrees Fahrenheit, the clock wasn't just ticking, it was melting their reality. They had to follow Max's desperate blueprint, cross the subterranean ocean to reach the geothermal vents. If they didn't catch the steam geysers before the water evaporated into a boiling mist, they would be trapped in this furnace forever. As the ambient temperature surged toward 105 degrees Fahrenheit, they frantically scavenged parts to build a makeshift raft. Trevor handed Sean his father's compass, A torch passed down. While they rigged Max's old parachute as a sail, their only hope of catching the shifting winds. They hit the water, but the ocean was alive with terrors. The same bioluminescent bird from before reappeared, circling Sean, screeching a frantic warning. Suddenly, the sky turned violent. A storm of heat and pressure hammered the raft. Hannah screamed for them to drop the sail, but they couldn't afford to slow down. The mercury hit 109 degrees Fahrenheit. Then the water erupted. Massive, prehistoric fish breached the surface, snapping at the raft. Hannah barely dodged a strike, and Trevor had to deliver a brutal kick to a monstrous beast to keep it from capsizing them. Just as they thought they'd held the line, a shadow eclipsed the water. The smaller predators vanished, swallowed whole by a leviathan so colossal it dwarfed their entire raft. It wasn't hunting them, it was feeding on the swarm. Seizing the chaos, they veered off course to escape the carnage, but the gale-force winds proved too much. The sail ripped free, the friction burning the skin off Hannah's hands. Sean lunged for the rope, but with a snap of steel, the attachment shattered. The wind caught the sail and Sean was ripped away, vanishing into the storm. When Sean finally regained consciousness, he was washed up on a desolate, jagged shore with a dead piranha at his feet. He was alone. The bioluminescent bird landed nearby, guiding him toward a hidden spring. After drinking his fill, he followed the creature into the labyrinthine tunnels, determined to reunite with his uncle. Back on the main shore, Trevor and Hannah were reeling from the loss, but they refused to break. Exhausted, they collapsed for a moment of rest, only to be ambushed. A gargantuan, carnivorous plant, its teeth serrated like razor blades, snapped at Hannah. Trevor hammered the creature, dazing it, but when he spun around, Hannah was gone. The plant's vines had coiled around her, dragging her into a thicket of man-eating flora. Trevor lunged to save her, but his spear shattered against the tough stalks. He was forced into a desperate, bare-knuckle brawl against the forest itself, his hands slick with the creature's caustic, vile sap. He fought through the suffocating vines, tearing the plant from its roots until Hannah fell free, gasping for air. Meanwhile, deep within the mountain, Sean stumbled forward. At the end of a long, dark tunnel, he saw a glimmer of light. His strength failing, he tripped and fell. Sean pulled himself up, gasping for breath, when he noticed his pocket knife drifting in midair. It wasn't a trick of the light. The cavern was saturated with a powerful magnetic field, turning gravity into a mere suggestion. Floating islands of rock hovered before him, a natural bridge spanning the deadly void. With no other way across, Sean gathered his courage and began to leap from stone to stone. One misstep sent him plummeting toward the abyss, but he caught the ledge, his fingers white-knuckled as he hauled himself back into the air. Elsewhere, Trevor and Hannah had finally reached the river that would lead them to the thermal vents, but the mission had changed. They couldn't leave without Sean. They shouted his name into the silence, but the cavern swallowed their voices. Meanwhile, Sean was pushing forward, his compass spinning wildly in the magnetic chaos. The heat was becoming suffocating, turning his clothes into a wet, heavy shroud. As he pushed deeper, he stumbled into a graveyard of prehistoric giants, the bleached, massive skeletons of dinosaurs. A bone-chilling roar echoed through the chamber, and Sean dove behind a crag, his heart hammering against his ribs. Realizing they were losing precious time, Trevor made a hard choice. He and Hannah would split up to cover more ground. Before they parted ways, Hannah leaned in for an emotional, desperate kiss, both of them haunted by the fear that they might never see each other again. Just then, a glob of viscous, rancid slime splattered on the ground in front of Sean. He looked up, and his blood turned to ice. A massive T-Rex stood directly over him, jaws dripping with saliva, eyes locked on its next meal. Panic surged into raw adrenaline. As the beast lunged, Sean rolled beneath its snapping jaws, scrambling to his feet and sprinting for his life. The predator tore through the landscape, obliterating ancient stone and fossilized bone in its wake, closing the distance with terrifying speed. Sean dove into a narrow tunnel just as the T-Rex's teeth slammed into the rock behind him. Trevor heard the scream and recognized it instantly. It was coming from the other side of a stone wall. He didn't think. He launched himself at the barrier, hammering at the rock with primal, desperate strength. Inside the tunnel, the T-Rex was clawing at the entrance, its snout inches from Sean. Just as the creature prepared to crush the rock and drag him out, Trevor breached the wall. He grabbed Sean, pulling him to safety, but the reunion was cut short. The beast was relentless. It scrambled over the boulders with unnatural agility, forcing Trevor and Sean to run for their lives through the twisting, light-drenched labyrinth of the deep. Trevor made a snap decision. He led the beast toward a section of the cavern floor that looked paper-thin. It was a suicide mission. One wrong step and he'd be plunging into the dark with the predator. As the ground began to shudder and collapse, Trevor sprinted, launching himself away at the last possible second while the T-Rex lost its footing, plummeting into the abyss. He scrambled back to Sean, and together, they raced through a narrow tunnel, finally reaching the riverbank. But the heat was catastrophic. The water was already boiling, the steam building to a terrifying pressure. Hannah met them there, steering a makeshift boat crafted from the skull of a colossal prehistoric creature. They jumped in, but disaster struck. The water levels were plummeting. The river was drying up, leaving them stranded in a bone-dry gorge. They skidded off an edge, their skeletal raft wedged precariously between two jagged rocks, suspended directly over a roiling, incinerating river of lava. Trevor realized the truth. They couldn't just ride the river. They had to ignite it. They needed the water to hit the magma below to trigger a massive thermal eruption. Searching the walls, he spotted a damp patch of rock shielding a hidden reservoir. It was time for a gamble. Remembering the magnesium deposits in the cavern walls, he used the last of his flares to ignite a controlled blast. The rock shattered, and thousands of gallons of water poured onto the molten core. The reaction was volcanic. A monstrous jet of steam blasted upward, acting like a rocket that launched their skeletal craft into the sky. They tore through the Earth's crust, erupting out of the ground and crashing violently into a peaceful Italian farm. The furious owner stormed over, screaming in Italian, but his rage vanished the moment Sean pulled a single massive diamond from his bag and tossed it to him. The man's eyes widened, his anger replaced by a greedy grin. He even joked, asking if they planned on destroying his farm again. With their pockets lined with riches, the world was theirs. Trevor saved Max's lab, securing his legacy, and their lives were changed forever. As the holiday season approached, Trevor and Hannah invited Sean to join them on their next hunt. This time, for the lost city of Atlantis. But as Sean packed his gear, he pulled out a small treat for his pet. Suddenly, he froze. A familiar bioluminescent bird, a traveler from the core, landed in his room, proving that some things from the deep had followed them home. They had returned with a fortune, their future secure, and their bond unbreakable. If you want to catch more pulse-pounding stories like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed today's journey, smash that like button and drop a comment below. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!